Welcome to EPG Pathshala Philosophy. I am Satchidananda Mishra, Professor in the Department of Philosophy and Religion, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. And this module we are going to discuss here is Anuplabdhi, non-cognition, an independent source of knowledge. And the content writer of this module is Dr. Anil Kumar Tiwari. And in this module, we will be discussing some issues which are very core issues in Indian philosophical tradition, and that is to say the problem of knowledge of absence. How do we become aware of a negative fact, in other words? So there are other different opinions, various opinions, and all those opinions contradict each other. And in this module we will be discussing that on what ground which opinion seems to be correct and on what ground another opinion is a little bit strong. So on these issues, all these issues will be discussed in this module. So there is one problem, basic problem is that how do we know a negative fact? Negative fact means, this is in the Nyaya terminology, how do we become aware of an absence? So an absence is actually, if it is given an existing status, the answer could be something different. If we don't give it to an existing status, the answer will be something different. So there are basically three main positions. One position is of Mimamsa position, and another is Buddhist position, and third one is Nyaya position. We will be discussing these three positions mainly. And it is also to be remembered here in this connection that Mimamsa position is not only one position, but there are two Mimamsa positions, because there is one philosophical Mimamsa school known as Prabhakar school has different opinion, and another school, Kumaril Bhatta's school, has a different opinion. And all these opinions differ in their formulating of their theories, and they have different approach to solve this problem. And the problem is that in what case we know the absence, or in other terms, in what case we express the sentences where there is a talk about absence. So if we take these two in a different way, the question will be something different, because in one case we are taking for granted that absence is a category, is a thing, and that thing should be known. How the thing is known, this is a problem, this is the issue, and there are different approaches. One approach could be of Nyaya approach, another approach could be of Kumaril Bhatta's approach, and there are two other approaches, and one approach is of Prabhakar Mimamsaka's approach, and fourth one is both Buddhist philosophers. So when it is accepted that absence is a category, absence is also a thing which can be known through employing pramanas, this would be the approach adopted by Naiyayikas and the followers of Kumaril Bhatta. And when we say we take Prabhakaras and Buddhist philosophers, their approach is that actually absence is not a category, absence is not a thing at all, and so we need not provide any praman, we need not accept any praman which gives us knowledge about absence. Rather, we have to provide an explanation in what cases we are using these expressions, we are uttering these sentences that there is an absence. So when do we utter the sentence that there is no pot on the ground, the explanation of this statement is the main task of Buddhist philosophers and Prabhakar philosophers. And the main task of Naiyayikas and Bhatt philosophers is that how do we know the thing that there is absence on the ground. So when the Naiyayikas are saying that there is no pot on the ground and I know it, the position of Naiyayikas is that actually there is a negative fact, negative thing, and that thing is absence, and I have certain praman to establish, to know that negative fact. And the same point is accepted by Kumaril Bhatta. But Buddhist philosophers and Prabhakaras do not accept it. They would not say that there is something like absence, because if we take the Buddhist position, Buddhist philosophers are of this opinion that there is only swalakshan, and that swalakshan is something which is arthak kriyakari. This is to say, through which we can use, we employ our terms and we can do some work. So that is their position. And abhav, absence, is not swalakshan at all, so it cannot be taken to be established by employing any praman. So here the problem is that, let us summarize, let us take the issue in what context we say that there is an absence. So there are this fact is accepted by every philosopher. There will be no doubt that everybody would say that suppose we are sitting in this room and on this table there is no pot, and I would say that there is no pot. Yeah, Buddhist philosophers would also say, oh, there is no pot at all. And the Mimamsakas, whether he is Prabhakara or Kumaril Bhatta's follower, it doesn't matter. Everybody would say that there is no pot at all. But why there is no pot? This is the question we are dealing here. Why? What is the ground? On what basis we are saying that there is no pot at all? And here the Prabhakaras differ from Bhattas and Naiyayikas differ far from Buddhist philosophers, because they have different basis, different grounds on which they are saying that there is no pot at all. No jar, there is no jar on the table. So here we can see that there is non-apprehension of pot. If pot were cognized, nobody could have said that there is no pot on the table. So this is the point to be noted here, that if the pot is cognized, in that case, if the pot is perceived or cognized, in that case we cannot say that there is no pot at all. We cannot say that I have known the absence of pot. So in this case there is a non-cognition is required. So this non-cognition is understood as anupalabdhi. In Sanskrit it is called anupalabdhi. Upalabdhi means cognition, and in Sanskrit it means jnana. So anupalabdhi means the absence of cognition, to say. So non-cognition or absence of cognition. So the absence of cognition plays very important role, and if we are here to say, the point is to this question is that whether this absence of cognition is a separate praman or not, whether this absence of cognition is helping other pramanas in producing the knowledge of a negative fact, or this non-apprehension or non-cognition is a separate praman at all. So this Kumaril Bhatta's position is that this non-cognition is a separate praman. But Buddhist philosophers say, no, non-cognition is not a separate praman. But non-cognition has only an instrumental value. This is to say, non-cognition plays the role of hetu in the process of inference. So on this ground, taking non-cognition as hetu, we are able to infer the absence of something, some absence of X. Suppose there is a no pot on the ground. So in this case, we infer that there is a no pot because it is not cognized. In a simple way, because it is not cognized, therefore we conclude that there is a no pot at all. So this is their position, and it seems to be that how could we travel from non-cognition to cognition? This is to say, non-cognition of pot to cognition of absence of pot, because these two are two completely different things. You cannot equate that non-cognition of pot is the cognition of absence of pot. So there are different things, different issues, and these two completely differ. And when there is a non-cognition of pot, that non-cognition of pot is the base from which we travel to another frame. We acquire the knowledge of the absence of pot. So what is the process should be follows? This is the what is the process should be followed here. This is the question, and this question is discussed in this module what we are discussing. Let us take now the position of Prabhakar Mimamsakas first. Thereafter we will turn to Buddhist position, and then to Kumaril Bhatta's, and in the end to Nyaya position. So Kumaril Prabhakara's position is that they don't grant absence a separate category. This is to say, in Prabhakara's opinion, absence is not something to know. Absence is not something to know. The things which are to be known are different. Absence is completely avastu, not a thing at all. And ye praman could establish, could make us aware of only the things, and which is not the thing, any praman cannot make us aware of the things. So when you have a non-cognition of pot, from this non-cognition of pot, we don't have to travel to the cognition of absence of pot, because there is no possibility of cognition of absence of pot, because absence is nowhere at all. Absence is not a thing which can be known, but we have to provide only an explanation in what cases we say that there is no pot at all. So we have to supply only the explanation of our behavior. So in our behavior, certainly there are cases when we say that there is no pot at all, but to be very sure that when we say that there is no pot on the ground, we don't mean to say that actually there is something different from the ground, because we should not get confused with our linguistic expressions, because many times our linguistic expressions make us confused. So the linguistic expression is that there is no pot on the ground, and this linguistic expression is very much similar to the statement, this expression, when we say that there is a pot on the ground. So when we say that there is a pot on the ground, it means there are two things. One is the pot and another is the ground. But when we say that there is no pot on the ground, it doesn't mean that there are two things. One is the ground and another is the absence of pot, because absence of pot is nothing else than the ground, because there is only one thing, that is ground. In that case, we behave like there is absence of pot. So this is the explanation provided by Prabhakaras, and according to Prabhakaras, we need not actually any pramana to establish the existence of absence to know the absence, because absence is nothing else. So it can be a little bit formulated, and sometimes it is formulated that in according to Prabhakaraj also the absence is known employing Anumana Praman, but actually it doesn't seem to be in the line of Prabhakara philosophers. Prabhakaraj could only say that actually from this the perception of only the ground, we infer that we can move without any obstacle, because if there is a pot, you cannot move without any obstacle. The pot will be in front of us, and therefore we have to avoid the pot in our movements. But if there is no pot, we can move frequently without any difficulty. We can go here and there, and therefore here the behavior is there to be explained, not the absence of pot to be known, and therefore we need not any praman according to Prabhakaraj. So there is another position adapted by Buddhist philosophers. Buddhist philosophers say that this non-cognition plays the role of hetu, and from this hetu we infer that there is no pot at all. So actually according to Buddhist philosophers also, because Buddhist philosophers and the position of Prabhakaraj is very much similar, they are not far away from each other, but there is a little bit of difference, because on the one hand Prabhakaraj say that we need not any other praman to establish the absence, and on the other hand the Buddhist philosophers say that this certainly there is a praman which proves the existence and which proves that there is an absence. But if you go through the explanations which are provided by commentators and which are provided by Dharmakirti, you will notice that the essence of those explanations is in it that actually the absence is not there to infer, because there is this absence is only our constructed, it is a constructed fact. So it is, if it is constructed fact, this is the object of vikalp if we take the Buddhist position. So in that case it need not to be there to be established by perception, but only inference, because inference plays in the area of vikalpa. So from inference we infer that there is an absence. So here Buddhist position is that from knowing a negative fact we need only one inference, and from that inference we can know the negative fact. So Kumaril Bhattaj's position is that from anupalabdhi we become aware of the absence, and anupalabdhi is actually a separate kind of praman. So what kind of anupalabdhi is this? And here when it is asked what kind of anupalabdhi is that, yogyanupalabdhi, it is said that yogyanupalabdhi. Yogya means there is something special in that anupalabdhi. Every anupalabdhi, every non-cognition is not able to establish the absence. Every non-cognition cannot provide us the knowledge of absence, but only yogyanupalabdhi. But this yogyata ability or capacity should be understood in two ways, that non-cognition of something which is perceptible. Non-cognition of something. Now there are certain things which are non-cognized. There is a non-cognition of God, there is a non-cognition of heaven, there is a non-cognition of hell, but these non-cognitions cannot provide that these are not there. You cannot know the absence of God, the absence of hell and heaven, because there is a non-cognition of them. Because this non-cognition is not Yogyanupalabdhi. It is not Yogyanupalabdhi because which is perceptible only the non-cognition of that. So if pot is perceptible and there is non-cognition of pot, then it can be a praman. It will be a praman, and through this praman we can we can know that there is no pot at all. The absence of pot is known. And second point is that sometimes it is also requested, it is also needed that where the absence is known, that should also be yogya, that should also be perceptible. So these two things, this is to say, if we are going to talk in Nyaya terminology, the pratyogi and anuyogi of the absence should be yogya. In case these are not yogya, you cannot establish yogya anupalabdhi, you cannot establish the absence employing yogya anupalabdhi as a praman. So yogya anupalabdhi as a praman can perform, can operate only if there is yogyata of pratyogi, counter relatum, counter positive, and there is yogyata in base relatum, that is anuyogi. So if these are satisfied, then you can know the absence of pot, absence of anything, absence of x, absence of y, but there must be this yogyata, and this yogyata is very much necessity in the process of yogya anupalabdhi. So in this way we can say that yogya anupalabdhi is a separate praman according to Kumaril Bhatta, and Kumaril Bhatta says that Yogyanupalabdhi should be accepted as a separate praman because through perception we cannot know the absence, through inference we cannot know the absence. Actually, he gives very clear-cut idea that in what situation we have the idea that there is the absence, there is no pot at all. And he says that grihitva vastu sadbhavam smritva cha pratiyoginam manasam nastita jnanam jayate kshanapekshaya. The point is explained in this slok by Kumaril Bhatta that actually in the process of knowing the absence of pot, our sense organs are not employed at all, they are not used at all, because our sense organs do provide us the knowledge, but they provide us the knowledge of the existing things. So grihitva vastu sadbhavam, the things which are present there are cognized, are known through our external sense organs. Thereafter we remember the pratyogi, we remember the counter positive, and if the counter positive is not known, not remembered, then you cannot know the absence of that. Therefore it is said many times that for the knowledge of absence, the knowledge of pratyogi is required. Because if there is no knowledge of pratyogi, you cannot have the knowledge of absence at all. So to have the knowledge of absence, the knowledge of pratyogi is required, and here Kumaril Bhatta says that smritva cha pratyoginam, pratyogi must be remembered. So this is the second step. And thereafter what is happening? Manasam nastita jnanam. So we know, employing our mind, applying our manas is sometimes translated as mind, because in Sanskrit the term is there manas, and manasam nastita jnanam. So this mental knowledge is generated through anupalabdhi, because here it is mental cognition, so we cannot say that it is perceptual one, because in perception the memory was not required, And also when perception arises, the perception arises in case there is a connection of sense organ with object, and after the connection is removed, after there is no connection at all, in that case you cannot have the knowledge of absence. If you accept that the knowledge of absence is generated through perceptual process, as the Nayayikas generally accept. So Kumaril Bhatta says that another point, Kumaril Bhatta argues that there, if you say that the absence is known, so how this absence is known? You cannot say that through employing other pramanas, because absence is such kind of thing. It is not a positive entity, and all other pramanas are positive entities. So employing a positive pramana, you cannot be aware of a negative entity, and to become aware of a negative entity you need a negative kind of pramana. Therefore this is a negative kind of pramana, that is anupalabdhi. So we need anupalabdhi as a separate pramana. This is the argument of Kumaril Bhatta. Buddhist philosophers say that no, this anupalabdhi is not a separate pramana at all, but anupalabdhi is only an instrument. It is the ground, it is a hetu, and from this hetu we infer the absence of X, absence of pot, absence of jar, etc. So what is the process in inferring? And he says that we simply say that atra na ghataha upalabdhi lakshana praptasya anupalabdhe. So this is the line of Dharmakirti in Nyaya Bindu Prakaran. He says that atra na ghataha upalabdhi lakshana praptasya anupalabdhe. So in brief I will explain this to make the Buddhist point clear. He says that there is no pot at all. Why there is no pot at all? Because upalabdhi lakshana praptasya anupalabdhe. Because here upalabdhi lakshana prapta. Upalabdhi lakshana means karanantara sakalya. This is to say all other causes are present. So if all other causes are present, we know that the perception cannot arise in isolation. There is a need of a collection of causes, and if there is a collection of causes, then only a perception takes place. So suppose there is a pot and you are going to know it, not only our sense organs but light and some other factors are also required in order to know the pot. So upalabdhi lakshana praptasya means when all other factors, causal factors are there, but in that case also the pot is not cognized. So in this situation, if pot is not cognized, then you can say that there is no pot at all. So atra na ghataha upalabdhi lakshana praptasya anupalabdhe. So here one more point to be understood according to Dharmakirti, that this upalabdha lakshana prapti is to be understood in two ways. One is that there be all other causes, and second is that swabhava vishesha. Dharmakirti uses the term swabhava vishesha. This is the all things are not perceptible at all, and this swabhava vishesha is understood by other philosophers as yogya anupalabdhi. So what Kumaril Bhatta says as yogya anupalabdhi, what Nayayika says yogya anupalabdhi, this Dharmakirti says using this term that swabhava vishesha. So karanantara sakalya and swabhava vishesha. So these two if are there, in that case if the thing which is negated, whose nature is like that in certain conditions it is perceptible, then only you can conclude that the thing is not there. So Buddhist philosophers say that we can very well argue and infer the existence of the absence through inferential process, and need not postulate another theory of pramana in order to become aware of a negative fact. The Nayayika position is something different. they are of this opinion, and to understand the Nyaya position, we should first understand in why the Nayayikas say that it is perceived through, it is perceived not only inferred. But this 2 points are there. The Nayayikas don't say that always an absence is perceived, but the Nayayic position is that in case the Pratyogi is perceptible, the absence of that is perceptible if there is a certain, there are situations, if the situation allows. So if there is a pot, suppose there is a pot and this pot is perceptible, so if pot is removed from there, now there is no pot at all, in that case the absence of pot is also perceptible according to Nayayikas. And the basic objections raised against Nayayikas are that how is it possible that our sense organs could get connected to the absence, because our sense organs are positive entities and the absence is a negative entity. Between a positive entity and a negative entity, what kind of connection is possible? And if a connection is not possible, how could you say that this knowledge is arising through perceptual process? Because you said, according to Nayayikas, perception is indriyarth sannikarshotpanna jnana. It is a cognition which is generated through the connection of sense organ with object. According to Nayayikas, indriyarth sannikarshotpanna jnana is perception. The cognition generated through the connection of sense organ with object is known as perception. So if you take that absence is an object of perception, so you must provide what kind of connection between our visual sense organ or auditory sense organ or all other sense organs is possible with the absence. And if no connection is possible, you cannot assert that this cognition is generated through perceptual process. So this is the one basic issue raised against Nayayikas. So to sum up this module, we can observe very clearly that these all answers which are provided by Kumaril Bhatta, Prabhakaras and Buddhist philosophers and Nayayikas, they all are provided from different perspectives. The Nayayikas' perspective is different because the Nayayikas are of this opinion that there are two kinds of pratyaksha praman. One is nirvikalpak and another is savikalpak. Nirvikalpak is also praman and savikalpak is also praman. Absence can be cognized only through savikalpak. It cannot be cognized through, it cannot be known through nirvikalpak pratyaksha. So if you take only nirvikalpak pratyaksha as a praman, as Buddhist philosophers argue, so in that case it wouldn't be possible anyhow to accommodate, to say that absence is known through perception. So Buddhist and Nyaya position differs on this ground, and Prabhakaraj position is something different. Their understanding is that absence should not be given the status of an entity, and if it is not an entity at all, then we need not any praman to establish. So their answer is something different, and Kumaril Bhatta's answer is weakest in all these cases, it seems to me, because Prabhakara's position is something, he is saying that the non-cognition is hetu, non-cognition is a praman through which we become aware of a negative fact. If we take the non-cognition as a praman, as a separate praman to know, the problem would be the pramanas are there two kinds of. One praman is that if we take perception, in perception our sense organs produce the knowledge, but they are not known when they produce the knowledge. So only being present, if this Anupalabdhi can generate the knowledge, or being known this Anupalabdhi can produce the knowledge. So there will not be any satisfactory answer to this question from Kumaril Bhatta's side. Therefore, the weakest point is there that Anupalabdhi is a separate kind of Praman, so it is given up. Thank you.